So we launched a company called PowerTrack, and that's the reason why all you guys are on this phone call right now. PowerTrack is a very unique organization, and I don't know of anybody that is doing what we're doing right now, okay? We have a whole host of products with PowerTrack. One is a very simple smart thermostat, where a smart thermostat goes in. For instance, I'll give you an example. There's one of our clients called Gym Source. Gym Source has 45 locations up and down the eastern seacoast. They're a retail store. They sell high-end gym equipment. And we went in there, and I said to Rob, when the rep brought me in, I said, do you have any trouble with your HVACs or thermostats or anything like that? And this is what the guy said to me. He goes, John, I've got some good people that work for me, and I got some knuckleheads. And I said, okay, tell me. He goes, well, in one of my locations, there's 2 thermostats, there's 2 HVACs. They called me up saying, hey, listen, we're having trouble getting the temperature set right. And what they were doing was one HVAC was set at 72 degrees, and the other one was set at 68 degrees. And they're fighting each other.
They're arguing with each other.
Exactly. So I said to Rob, I said, listen, what would you think if I told you I could put the control of all of your thermostats in the palm of your hand, or on a platform on the internet that you can sign into and look at, and you can set your temperatures and nobody can touch them? And he said, John, if you can do that, I want to hear more. So we told him all about it. Now he's got smart thermostats in all of his locations. He controls the thermostats himself, and basically he sets them and forgets it, and that's it. Don't have to worry. If there's something where something goes down, he gets a warning, that type of thing. And it shaved 18% off his energy spend. And just by taking the human element out of it, solves a lot of problems. And, it's just like in my office here. We're in the top floor of a high-rise building, and there's 4 HVACs on the roof. There's 4 thermostats. I'm in a failed restaurant, which is pretty cool, and it's all glass. And when the sun comes up on the east side of the building, that side is boiling. My side, where I'm at, on the other side, is cold. And as the sun goes over the building, as you guys probably understand, everything flip-flops. So I was finding myself and running around, adjusting thermostats all day. So we come in with these sensors and smart thermostats, and we set it, and that's it. I haven't touched the thermostat since last October. It comes on, it goes off, it knows the building, and again, with this building, because it's such an energy sieve, about 12% off my energy spend per month. So that's the smart thermostats, okay? Now, another product that we have is called Energy Management Made Easy, or EMI. There's a big problem in this country with older buildings where you walk in and one office is freezing, another one is not so bad, and the other one is hot. And the problem is they don't have enough zones. So how do you do that? How do you fix the zones? Well, in the old days, you just rip everything out and you redo the whole thing for tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars. With EMI Controls, we come in with engineers, and as long as it is a forced air type of thing, they come in and they put the controls in there, and basically it's a baffle system. So if I'm in office number 12 and I'm freezing, I have my own zone, I turn up the heat, and the baffles throughout the rest of the building will either close completely or close a little bit and force the hot air down into my office. And these baffles are opening up multiple times per day. When that product is installed, we guarantee it. In other words, if it's not what we say it will do, we come in and we take it out and we put everything back and that's it. So it's a 100% guarantee on that one. Another program that we have really is geared for grocery stores and Giant Eagle, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard of them, but they're the second largest independently owned grocery store chain, if you will, in the country. Their average store size is about 80 or 90,000 square feet, and there's 229 locations. And we're just beginning to install the first one. And with that one, we're coming in, we're putting sensors on the HVACs, we're putting sensors in the aisles, we're putting sensors on the meat cutting machines, the scales, sensors on the outside of the building, on the inside of the building, and all of that information and all of the generated analytics come up to our platform, and the user can get on the platform and they can see exactly what their building is doing. If they can see it, they can manage it. If they can manage it, they can curtail it, and if they're curtailing it, they're saving money. With that full-on program, plus they're getting LED, which I haven't even mentioned yet, they're getting the full-on program plus the LED, and it's going to cut their energy spend in half. So they spend about 22 to 25 grand a month in energy, and now they can expect to spend anywhere $10,000 to $12,000 a month.
Wow, cut in half.
LED lighting is, as you guys, especially out in Vegas, it's everywhere, right? Everybody's LED. And I just got to say one thing, guys, and Steve, you've heard me say this before, and you'll hear me say it again. There has got to be more honest people in the cocaine trade than there is in life. I mean, it's
going to get an amen.
Yeah, amen. This is the place we call home.
It's completely unbelievable. And when we broke into that, we were using company like Rexall. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of them. Orion is another one, and Orion's a pretty big one. And we would send an auditor in, and then for kicks we sent in another auditor, and then we sent in another auditor into this building complex in Delray, Florida. There was 9 buildings. Each one was 4 or 5 stories high. We got 3 different numbers, and you would think that they would be close. They were light years away from each other. I mean, it was ridiculous. The auditor from Rexall didn't even audit the other 8 buildings. He audited one building and said, I don't need to audit that building. These buildings are all exactly alike. And the other one just looked at it and, did a quick-on run-through. And, right then and there I said, you know what, this whole thing, if we're gonna jump into this, we have got to eliminate the learning curve as fast as possible. I don't want to go through 9 months of learning LED and just wasting time. So we almost immediately brought auditing in-house. And some accounts we audit ourselves, and most of them we don't because it's too difficult. You need somebody like SIB that has snap count or something like that. But we really do most of it. And what we do is we go through the building, figure out the ballast, the lighting, the whole 9 yards. We take all that information and we give it to our trusted lighting group, which is SIB. That company's footprint is 40 states, so it's a big outfit. We give it to them. They give us all the numbers. They work in the labor. If the prevailing wage is, a union type of thing, they work that in. They work the local rebate and the federal rebate. They give us all of that information. And then my smart people take that and they put together our own proposal. Then we go into the client and we say, like Debbie Hickman at Giant Eagle, we said, Debbie, by putting in all of these LEDs, you're going to save, and I forget what the number was, but you're going to save X amount. And the good news is, if you're saving on the lighting portion of your bill $2,000, your monthly payment is $1,100 for the next 24 months. And after the 24 months is up, well, then you own the lighting system. So she got to be able to put in not only the lighting but the controls and the whole 9 yards, all of that stuff without laying a penny down out of her pocket. And, that's the magic, guys. The magic here is we can go in and put all of this high-tech technology into these massive corporations without them spending a penny. Usually that's reserved for, or the technology is reserved for companies that can afford to spend $50,000, $1 million, $10 million, depending on the size of the company, obviously, for all of this technology that would come from a company like Siemens or Johnson Controls or something along those lines. And the industry's changing. We come in with all of this stuff, we put it in, doesn't cost you a dime, and we don't do a shared savings thing. What we do is it's like a service charge. And Steve, if you remember a couple of weeks back when we were on the call with Westgate, and the guy was barking at me saying, "Joe, that's a bunch of baloney." I was like, no, it's not. It doesn't go like that. You have a cable bill, right? Yeah. Okay, you got a cable box, right? Yeah. You pay a monthly fee to the cable company, right? Yeah. What happens if you don't pay your cable bill? Oh, they shut it off. What use is the box after they shut it off? Oh, it's of no use. I said, you've got a cell phone, right? Yeah, you pay a service fee every month, right? Yes. And then finally it clicked with him. Remember, Steve? It clicked with him, and he got all excited and and put us in touch with the powers at Westgate. So, again, and I'm going to shut up here in a second, the magic is the ability to install all this stuff with no out-of-pocket. The magic is the ability to install multiple locations throughout the country simultaneously. The magic is the heavy money that's behind us to pay for these projects, and the magic on top of that is the ability to pay the commissions up front to the salesperson. And that's all I got right now.
Hey, I've got a couple of people muted because there was some background noises. I'll unmute it in just a second, but I have a couple of questions everybody's already asked me to ask you. What is the certification that you require for getting rebates so that our guys here can learn from Gary on how to install and then be self-sufficient?
Well, up here in New England, somebody who's installing has got to be certified through the utility, because if it's a big organization and the lighting people that we work with say, yeah, the rebate's going to be $150,000 for this company, then somebody from the utility goes in to verify, or somebody who is qualified by the utility can go in and verify what was said. Once it's installed, then somebody comes back in from the utility, and again, also the verifier that's licensed with the utility to verify that, yeah, we put in what we said we were going to put in, and then the check is distributed.
So what certification would they need for Vegas?
We got to find out. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
I'll put my smart people on there and have them call the utility, and I'm sure if somebody's an electrician who's already doing LED, I'm sure they're already certified, and if they're not, they should be.
Okay. Because I'm just thinking.
I mean, we don't run into that problem up here because everybody's like, yeah, no problem. I'm licensed with them.
I'm just thinking it'd be stronger if one of our guys could actually install it and walk across the street and says, "Hi, I installed that one over there. Would you like me to install one of those over here?" And then they're looking at an engineer in the eye who said, "Yeah, I put it in. I know it works." And I can put it in here. I know it works.
In that regard, Steve, what we would have to do is that installer would have to be vetted out by the lighting company themselves, because in this game, guys, the margin is lost after the installation. Okay, we need somebody that's going to service it, because these things are warranted for 10 years, serviced for 10 years, and somebody's got to go back in if something goes wrong.
Perfect, because we'd like to service them locally, is what I'm thinking.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, up in Canada, that's exactly what we're doing. I mean, we had a similar call, then we went up there and we met everybody, and, come to find out this guy's got a big construction company, and he works with a bunch of certified electricians, and, no problem. They're the guys, we got him vetted out through lighting, and, he's already clean and ready to go with hydro up there, as they call it. And, he's licensed and he's a certified hydro electrician.
Okay. Now, the deal we're on, I want to know if that's normal. I got on the phone with David Siegel, who owns the place, and I said, are you interested? And he said, yes, let me put you in touch with my guy. I'm thinking it's a done deal. We get on the phone with this guy, Steve Bonk, who I thought was the head engineer or something. You talked to him. He said, all right, let me find the guy in Vegas. 2 weeks later, he finds the president of the Westgate property here on Paradise, and we talked to him, and he says, oh, sounds great, but I'm not the guy. You have to call this other guy on Monday when he gets back. So we've now on our third guy. Is this normal with large corporations? It is.
Well, it is, and the sales cycle can be long, and experienced salespeople are good at getting to the decision maker. I didn't think there was anything abnormally long about that.
Can I say something? This is Brian. Now with Westgate, because it's a casino and a timeshare, so first one ever, there's a lot of confusion on who runs the place and who, there's a president of the casino that really doesn't make any decisions. You got to have the license. So he pretty much just is there. So there's also a project director, and Matt knows more about that, but there's two separate entities there. That's why the confusion comes in.
Well,
right.
But how I thought if I was talking to David Siegel and he owns the joint, he could say yes.
We got to the right person because the guy yesterday gave us that person's name, and I'm drawing a blank on it right now. I have it written down on my desk. And we're going to call him Monday. I said, is he there right now? And he said, no, he's gone. I just got off the phone about 2 hours ago. So we'll ring him up. And, for a business of that magnitude, because they are huge, they're throughout, Florida and everywhere else for that matter, a 2-week wait to get to the actual decision guy, unless you're buddies with the guy where you can pick up and call his cell phone, I mean, that's about right.
Okay, then we're on track then. Okay, good.
Okay.
All right, I'm done with my questions. You guys got a couple of them while John's hot on the horn?
Well, that's this is Matt Hancock. That's one of the advantages that we have specifically in the timeshare business and the casino business with Brian and I's contacts. I mean, I've got C-level executives of all the timeshare companies on I have their personal cell numbers, so it's definitely something that can streamline the process.
Great.
Hey, John, do you have a standard boilerplate first email that you send out when you call somebody on the phone and give them the overview, and they said, yeah, send me some information? I've just been sending a couple referral letters and your 6-minute clip. Have you got a boilerplate one that you guys know works that you could share with us, or is it everybody's doing it different?
Everybody's kind of doing it the way that they are known to do it. A lot of these guys that we're dealing with as salespeople, they have a book of business already. So they actually just pick up the phone and say, hey, listen, I'd like you to take a look at it. I've vetted it out. I think it's great. I can get you on the phone with the chief tech officer, and then they send them a little blip that I'll be happy to share with everybody. And it goes from there. We try to keep it as simple as possible. I mean, right down to the money, it's a one-page document, because they're either going to rent it or they're going to finance it. It depends on what they want. Like the school systems that we work with, if it's a financial document, it's got to go to the board of directors for a vote. If it's a rental agreement, then the facility director can actually sign for it. So we're working closely with a guy by the name of Jerry Drummond up here in New England that works for National Grid. And he's got all these projects, and they don't want to go through the baloney of the red tape of a board of directors. But that's one case. But we just streamline it as easy as possible.
I hadn't even thought about schools. We got an advantage here. Clark County School District here in Vegas is the largest in the United States and the most corrupt. But they've been trying to divide it up into 5 different sections, and they've resisted it. But there is one advantage. If they say yes, they've said yes to the entire 2.5 million people population. I hadn't even thought of that.
Let me just say this about schools, guys. We have certain verticals that we go after, and even though we are playing around with schools, it's not one of the verticals.
Okay.
I wouldn't waste my time with it. I would stick to grocery stores. I would stick to casinos and hotels. I would stick to the comfort inns of the world, because we have a device now that attaches to the split system in the hotel room, and you guys are all familiar with it. You go into these medium, I'll call them hotels. They're not a Ritz, they're not a Mandarin hotel, they're comfort inns, holiday inns, and they've got this split unit in the room. And you turn the damn thing on, you walk out, you leave it on, or somebody checks out and leaves it on, and it's just not monitored. We can take our sensor and put it in every single room, and we can monitor, manage it, curtail it, turn it on, turn it off. And with some of these hotels, there's 300 rooms. You put 300 sensors in, $20 a pop, $6,000 plus sensors on HVACs. You bring it up to a platform, and that business isn't going anywhere. They will always be your client, because it just drastically cuts their energy spend down. Just even that simple one is, it can shave 30% off the bill. And these split units are so terrible that some entities, they don't want to shut them off because they're afraid they won't come back on. And they've had problems with them because they're old. So I would stick to the verticals like we talked about with the hotels and the motels and the casinos and property management, grocery stores, assisted living, which is huge. Somebody falls down, well, guess what? We've got a sensor that can detect somebody horizontal on the ground. Water detection. You guys are some of you are in the industry. You know that water damage is just massive. A massive problem for hotels. And by putting these sensors, these wireless sensors in the carpet and throughout the building, they get a huge break from their insurance company.
So, I hadn't even thought of that.
It goes, there's a lot to it, but it's not rocket science. And, anybody, in my opinion, can really learn what we're doing here. The trick is to keep everything simple. Create a list of people that you think you could talk to, and don't try to explain it out of the gate. Get one of us on the line and just listen and learn, like Steve's doing.
Perfect. Now, can you explain the LED lights, the sensor in there or the chip in there, and what it can do, especially with that one grocery store that they didn't know people were in the aisle?
Yeah, well, there's all different types of sensoring, whether it's in a light or it's in an aisle somewhere other than the light. But the LED lighting, the sensor that can go in there if they choose to have it, will do a whole host of things. Number one, it will detect motion. You'll be able to change the color of the light with it. And once it detects motion, you can have all kinds of applications to it. The most types of LEDs that we're selling are straight-on, top-of-the-line LEDs without that in it. But with that being said, a lot of restaurants have it. We have one with controls, Tommy Doyle's up here in New England, which is a very large outfit, because he wants to be able to dim the light, make it bright, change the color. that kind of thing.
And talk about that store that didn't know how many people were going up and down an aisle till they had the sensor tell them.
Well, that was again. It was Giant Eagle in Pittsburgh, and there's another one in California. I'm drawing a blank on the name, but what they did is they realized that like aisle 10 had a lot more people coming down the aisle than aisle 2 and 1, and what they did is they sold the real estate to Red Bull at the end of aisle 10. It's a premium spot because they know how many people go down. It's just silly stuff. It's just like a sensor on the scale. Well, why would you put a sensor on the scale? Well, I'll tell you why. There's 5 scales or 10, and they're all on, but they're all not being used. So put a sensor on. If it's not being used, it's off. It shuts it off. Somebody touches it, boom, it comes back on.
How wild.
Yeah, the name of that store was Zion Grocery Store, which is one of the largest, I believe it's an Asian-owned outfit, and it's absolutely massive.
That's incredible.
So with all that being said, guys, what we'll do, I don't want to keep you on the call all day. I'll put together some information for you all, send it out to Steve. He can distribute it. And we're going to be out in Vegas very soon. And when we get out there, we can all sit down or we can get back on a call next week. And you guys can talk to a couple of our tech guys out here.
That'd be great. Super duper. All right.
Are people on mute, Steve?
Yeah, I had a couple on mute. I took them all off because I didn't want to. Somebody had like a fishbowl in the background. It sounded like, or running water.
Yeah, I've been on mute too, guys.
Okay. All right. Now Q&A time. Anybody got any questions? Or after John comes into town, you'll have more, I'm sure. But what do you got for him now?
Does he have any print material?
Say that again?
Does he have any print material?
Sure. Yeah, we'll send you some marketing information for sure.
And maybe a list of current clients so we can, shamelessly name drop.
Yep, absolutely. We have a nice little package that we can send out to you guys.
Perfect. That 6-minute video that I just love online, I truly do love it. You have that in Spanish by chance yet?
Yes.
Good. I know Jeff is looking forward to that in Mexico. He's got some things cooking down there, and he wanted to have one in Spanish.
Yep.
Awesome. And, okay, when somebody comes in to do it, let's say, the property we have here with Westgate, how long does it take to survey that thing? 2 hours, 20 hours? I have no idea.
Yeah, it all depends on the building, and, everybody asks that question, and it's like we just don't know until we get into the building. I mean, we're working with a hospital group. They've got 24 hospitals, and the guy goes in there, and it took him a little bit more than a day to get through the first floor.
The first floor.
Right.
Okay.
and then you get to the second floor where people are being operated on, or whatever floor that is, and you need special clearance to get through there. They don't just let anybody do it. It's just like schools, right? If you're going to do LED, you got to do it at night. They don't want you in there when the kids are there. And, my feeling on that is there's no reason to do something like that when there's all of this other clean business that we can just blow through really quickly.
Right.
You don't want to get into, okay, it's going to go in front of the board of director type of thing unless you have to. But the ones that happen quickly are the ones that I mentioned, the grocery stores, health, Planet Fitness, World Gym, stuff like that is big, assisted living, property management, anything like that.
Well, Vegas is a small town in relation to everybody who works on the Strip. When they quit our job, they just go across the street. So you know how the old expression is, nobody wants to be first, everybody wants to be second, nobody wants to be last. I'm thinking we get Westgate and we just crack the ice, and suddenly everybody wants to know, what are they doing?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that'll just crack the ice, and then all four of my guys on the phone here can just go like crazy and say, hey, you don't want to be left behind. Everybody's getting it but you.
Yeah, Steve, this is Dave Hine. I was telling Brian earlier in the week, I had a brief conversation with a guy I know at MGM, Grand, who's over there, and he's the VP of Engineering. I briefly just mentioned something to him, didn't want to go into detail because don't know a whole lot about everything. I said, but would you guys be interested in something like this? And he said, absolutely. So he's got the ear of pretty much all the VPs and, presidents in MGM corporate. So he said, when you guys are ready, he's like, get it in front of me. He's like, I would love to take this and sit down with them if you're, telling me this is what this stuff can do. As far as the energy savings goes and the different products. So, yeah, we've got one guy within MGM that's just going to be kind of waiting for us to approach him and follow up. So
great. Oh, John, go over the company already has a BAS, building automated system, how ours is plug and play with anything they have in there. That's important.
That's right. It's completely agnostic, and as long as we have the API number on the back of their own sensors and stuff, we can just work with the existing BAS system.
And what were you saying about sometimes when they have some system in there, they got to go to part 1 to find out what's going on over there, then they got to go to part 2, then they got to go to part 3, and they got to go to part 4, and when they use our platform, they can see it all at once. What were you talking about when you said that?
Yeah, I came up with that because I was at a town fair tire. I don't know if you guys have those out there or not, but they're big tire stores. They're massive, and the guy had like 3 different sensors, and in order to see them, he had to go to 3 different websites. And I said, well, how's that going? He said, it's not going. I don't use it. I don't have the time to get on that. One and then one. So, with our platform, we take all of that, put it on our platform. He looks at one. The Cosmopolitan Hotel and out there, they are using our platform and censoring and stuff like that. And you can get on the platform, and when you're looking at it, it will show you every hotel room on the platform, and it will show you what temperature it's at, whether it's occupied or not. If it's leaking water somewhere, it will tell you that. An alarm goes off. You can flip on to the other side, and now you're looking at your HVAC. We twin HVACs together, so they don't click on at the same time, so less of the demand charge. With the EMI controls, there's air handlers, which one of our workout places, they have a yoga room, and the girl wants it like 90 degrees in there from 8 to 9 in the morning. That's it. So the thing clicks on at 7, starts cranking up the heat, and then once the show's over, the class is over, everybody leaves, but the room's still 90 degrees. What do you do with the heat in the room? Well, with our controls, you pull the heat out, you mix it with other air, get it to a right temperature, and redistribute it without turning the HVAC on, only the fan, so it doesn't.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah. Yep. So, the bottom line is the bigger companies really understand this and they get it, and they're very eager to hear about it, and they want to sit down. So, setting times to talk to people is really simple. And then when it gets to that point, we're all a team here, and you need to bring in the right people in the beginning as you learn to explain it in the right way.
One problem I had, I called a company I work with called Manatech. They're a network marketing company out of Dallas. And I got their head engineer on and said, "Hey, I used to work with your company for 17 years as a distributor, and I came across something I think you should hear about." And I told him, I said, "We've got an energy management system here, second to none." And before I could even get started, he's like, "Oh, yeah, we got it. We got all that taken care of. We got a BAS system, and I'm up on all that." I kind of got the feeling he didn't want me to tell him something he didn't know and go tell his boss that I was introducing something he thought he should hear it, he should already know about. Do we get into pissing contests a lot of times?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely, and I'm glad you brought that up, Steve. It's dealing with corporate politics, and like up in Canada with Canadian Tire. Canadian Tire is massive. If you guys have never heard of them, but they're huge, and they're spread out through the entire country. And the rep up there made the mistake of talking to one of the independent owners first. The independent owner loved it and installed it, but then went and tried to share it with corporate, and they just crapped all over it because they didn't think of it. So when you get into a situation like that, you got to make sure that you get the blessing from corporate. So, for instance, with Giant Eagle, there's 229 across the country. 41 of them are independent. Debbie Hickman is one of the independents who's getting installed as we speak. What Debbie did, and I'm glad she did it, is she said, John, I'm getting ready to retire. I can turn you on to all of the other independents, and I'm very well respected, and they'll more than likely do this. But my recommendation is let me bring corporate in, and if I get their blessing, then we won't just get all 41, we'll get all 229.
There you go.
And sure enough, that's exactly what she did. She brought them in. We flew out there 3 times to see them. It wasn't strictly for them, but, we were there 3 times in Pittsburgh. I mean, stuff like that, guys, is just so exciting for me. It keeps me up at night because, you got to be kidding me. This is a little bit easier. It's just like it's just like selling kilowatts in the day, right? When we were the only ones doing it, I could literally, as a salesperson, I could literally walk down the street, and I'm not kidding, I'm not exaggerating. I would close 90% of the people that I talk to because they
have to be spoiled rotten.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
How do you live in the real world now, buddy? That's flipped around.
I'm getting back into the other world right now, Stephen.
Yeah, how about it?
So are you guys.
A real world question. I had brought up a competitor. Who is our closest competitor, and what would be a 1 or 2 or 3 bullet point we can use to shoot down whoever that competitor would be? Who's number 2, and what would we say about them? They're good, they're great, but
I would
what?
say Siemens and Johnson Controls are our competition. Well, what differentiates you between those guys? Well, with us, there's no money out of pocket. You go to Siemens and Johnson, you're going to get pretty much the same identical, I shouldn't say identical, a similar product, okay? But it's very cumbersome. It's not a one-platform thing. And you're going to, depending on how big you are, you're going to spend $10,000, $100,000, or in the case with one of our clients over here, they wanted $8 million to install this technology.
So upfront money and simple platform would be a 1-2 punch just to get the conversation started.
And support.
Mostly casinos are Johnson Control.
Yep. And I'm not saying there's anything bad about Johnson Controls or Siemens. I mean, let's face it, they're kingpins, right? But the reality is they're so big, and they've got the name. They get it. They can get it. But a savvy person, will understand that, hey, the hardware that goes into the building, it's expensive, but it's not ridiculously expensive. They're just selling it. They're just crushing it.
No.
I'm just thinking for the large companies, they usually like to have bids, competitive bids, and I just want to be able to put something in our thing saying, and all this is great, and there's no money up front, and we've got a simple platform, and we've got great support. So when they started reading the other one, they go, there's money up front, and the platform looks like a nightmare, and where the hell am I going to get somebody to call me? It would be kind of nice if we just kind of surreptitiously drop that in.
Yeah. I mean, I've had people say, this sounds too good to be true. And I look at them and I say, well, you know something? It really isn't, because, number one, you got to pass credit. And number two, you got to pay the bill. And number three is you have to have to have a smart person. You have to use the program. I mean, we could load you up with as much technology as possible. But if you don't have somebody that's there that's going to learn it and understand it and use it, then what good is it? It's no good.
True.
You know, it's one of our clients, you know, the guy rings up and says, "Hey, what does the yellow light on the thermostat mean?" You know, this is when we first started. And I chuckled and I said, that means you need to get somebody up there, get your HVAC guy up there to look at it. And, you know, the next day he calls up, he goes, "John, the light's now red." I said, "Shut the thing off." He didn't it caught on fire that night.
How to spark a liberal voter. Okay.
But guys, listen, I got to run, unfortunately.
That was great, John. It's been an hour of your time. Bless you.
No,
Thank you. It was the weekend. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks,
no
John.
problem at all. And Steve, just for all you guys on the line, I'm going to put together. You'll have it Monday, if not tomorrow afternoon. You'll have some paperwork that I want you to go through. It's basic agent agreement type of stuff. Just look through that. You'll have some marketing information, which will also have our a clientele list, that type of thing. And, you know, as soon as you want to schedule another time, Steve, to get everybody back in line, no problem. Just let me know.
Great. That'd be nice. I mean, well, we're kind of hoping that we do the survey for Westgate, and then your guy, when he's in town doing the survey, one of our guys can just, you know, puppy tail him and make sure he sees everything he sees, and then afterwards sit down and use the survey we just did as the training the next day for our guys. Say, well, here's what we just did, and here's how we find all that stuff, and go through a little miniature training face, you know, one-on-one there in a classroom style. I can find a room for us to all do that in.
Right. I have one thing. How long does it take for you to get your technician out here to do everything?
I can get somebody out there in a matter of a day or two.
Because I work for a show called Tanks on TV.
Yep.
They build. They have a big warehouse and an office and everything, and I've already talked to them about this. So they're coming back into town this week. So I wanted to see about, you know, revisiting with them again and seeing if they want to do it.
Well, what I recommend you do is get the right person over there.
The owners. I talked to the owners directly.
And
Perfect.
Let's get the owner on the phone with my chief tech officer, Tim Daller, and let those two talk. There is a process of making sure they're a fit for us. It sounds like they are, and let those two talk together. Tim is a typical tech guy. He has got no sales aura about him, and that's good. You know, me, I come across like a sales guy because that's what I am, right? But you know, we like it when the tech guys talk because it's solid information and it's very clear.
Perfect. All right. Well, one more question before you go. Anybody? Or I guess we're good.
Like you said, you're passing some marketing materials along. Are you going to be? Are there any like printed brochures or anything like that?
Yes.
Okay. Then I'll text you my address, John, and you can just send them to me, and I'll pass them out to everybody.
Yeah, no problem.
Perfect.
Yeah, and one thing I just want to add, you know, looking out there and looking at everything, I haven't run across one device for a split system in the market. I just haven't. And if you guys know of one, I'd like to hear about it. But already out here in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey and Philly and all that market, just last week I had a rep out there talking about it to all of the Patels that own all of these Comfort Inns and stuff like that, and immediately traction. So keep your eyes out for that. I don't know of anybody that has it that not only does the split system monitoring, but also has the water leak system in there for $20 per room. I mean, that's an absolute steal.
Great.
Okay.
I'm just thinking if we never leave the state, there's enough money for all of us just in going from Vegas to Reno to Lake Tahoe. I know a lot of these properties own properties, you know, all over the world, but literally if we just never leave the state, we'll probably die happy men.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, we'd like to take over Vegas. Personally,
you really don't need a lot of clients, guys, to hit it out of the park. You just need a couple of good ones and just work that vertical until it's exhausted, and then switch gears. You know, and it's easy because it's easier than, let's say, IBM or Microsoft or Johnson Controls, because of the fact that there is no upfront money. You know, with those companies, you know, you're going to pay up front, and then you're going to pay through the nose. They're super expensive, and the systems are very elaborate and, in my opinion, kind of difficult to understand. You know, where this is just streamlined big time, where anybody can understand it, and on top of that, it delivers value and lowers the spend. You know, in my opinion, building automation systems are not designed, and you guys, you can correct me whenever you want. In my opinion, they're not designed to save money. They're designed to give the facility director a clear view of what's going on in the building. So when people say, oh, yeah, I got that, I got this, I say, well, great, you know, what is it doing as far as curtailment? You know, what measures have been taken to prevent HVACs from cycling more than they should? You know, what measures are taken to show your HVAC is not running at capacity, it's running at 60, 80, 70%. And if you ask pointed questions like that to people, you'll catch them off guard, and they don't know. So facility director, go ahead. Somebody say something? Okay. So with all of that being said, you know, you got to tiptoe a little bit, because you know, nobody likes to be told they're wrong, you know,
right.
Like you said, Steve, right? So you just got to say, hey, listen, you know, Mr. Facility Director, this is going to be great for you, because you're going to be able to show your boss or, you know, whatever.
Yeah, there we go.
and then make sure that they, when it's time to meet in person or, you know, another conversation, you guys got to have the decision maker on the line, because other than that, it's a massive waste of time.
All right.
All right.
Bingo. All right. I think that sums it up. Unless anybody wants to jump in real quick, John, thank you very much. Spent a whole hour with us on your weekend day off. We definitely appreciate it. We'll make you proud when we get Vegas going, for sure.
Yeah, that's right. Vegas, here I come.
Yeah, that's right. We're taking over. We're planting our flag.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Thanks, John.
Good night, everybody. Bye.
Yep.